Let's talk now, though, to Maggie Oliver, former Detective Constable with the Greater Manchester Police, a campaigner, of course, as well, on all kinds of issues around the justice that we should be seeing for the people of this country. And once again, I'm afraid Greater Manchester Police is in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. The story actually is trending now on Twitter today because Andy Burnham has responded to a report that went out yesterday in which it was claimed that an awful lot of police officers in the Greater Manchester Police are mistreating young women, basically taking them into police stations, strip searching them, drugged and sexually assaulted by officers while in custody. That's the claim. It's an incredible claim. But let's talk to Maggie and find out what it is all about. Maggie, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
I mean, this is a shocking story, isn't it? I saw some of the footage yesterday on Sky. They've done well to do this investigation, but it seems incredible. When you watch the footage, it's really quite shocking, isn't it?
It really is shocking, Mike. I think what I would like to make very clear, though, first of all, because it didn't come out in the Sky piece, is that those three cases are all cases that we at the Maggie Oliver Foundation have been fighting for quite a long time.
Oh, really? Okay.
One of them 2 years, one of them 18 months, and Zayna for perhaps 3 months. But the only reason that piece has come to the mainstream media is because at the Maggie Oliver Foundation, all those women contacted us independently, and actually there is a fourth woman, and it was because we were able to piece them together and show a pattern of behaviour in this particular custody office, and we have been highlighting this within Greater Manchester Police for many months in our monthly meetings. We took it to the Police and Crime Commissioner, and yet action has still not been taken. So what horrifies me really is that once again it is only when the mainstream media pick up cases like this and highlight them that we then do see some kind of action. And after that piece yesterday, we've now got an independent review being headed by Dame Vera Baird, who I admire greatly. There's been another referral to the IOPC, but these questions should have been addressed and dealt with, many, many months ago through our intervention and through the facts that show that these young women have been treated horrendously, and they have been trying to get answers. They've been trying to get CCTV footage of what happened when they were being detained, and all three of them have been denied that. I see this, Mike, as an abuse of power, and that is why the Maggie Oliver Foundation actually exists, to give women like these women a voice when they are being squashed and trampled all over and ignored, and it is just not right. The public hear what we're saying. I'm really grateful to you for giving me a chance to say these things. We wouldn't exist without public support, without their donations, without their encouragement. And that would mean that women like this would go unheard and without a voice. I will do everything within my power to prevent that from becoming the norm.
Yeah, and we have great admiration for you, Maggie, and all the work that you've done over the course of years in several different investigations. But tell us a bit about this particular situation here. Zayna Iman is one of the women who came to see you. Tell us what happened to her and why she thinks it happened to her and what this is all about.
Well, Zayna is extremely brave. She is a real warrior, and she has waived her anonymity to speak out. She's saying that she was arrested at a home address when she admits that she was high on cocaine.
Right.
She actually knocked a policewoman's glasses off her head and was then taken into custody. But she was kept in custody for many, many hours. I think it was 38 hours, but don't quote me on that. And there should be CCTV footage covering every part of her detention, which she has been fighting to get access to for well over 2 years. Now, if Greater Manchester Police had nothing to hide, why would they not share that CCTV footage? Why would they only share selected little parts of it? And it was when she was finally taken to a hospital that they said that she had been sexually assaulted. That could only have happened when she was in police custody. So there are many. I don't know what happened in that custody office, Mike, but I know that there are serious questions to answer. And what we've been saying in our meetings with GMP is that these questions need to be answered. And yet, until yesterday, they pretty much refused to do anything about it. Suddenly, you know, the media covers it. We've got an immediate statement from the Deputy Chief Constable. We've got an independent review being raised, and we've got the IOPC looking at it. So, you know, there are questions to be answered, and they could very quickly be cleared up if the CCTV footage, which Zayna has applied for, were released to her, as she's entitled to get through the Freedom of Information Act, but it has been edited and filtered and cut into pieces. And she is a very bright young woman, and she has been fighting to have her voice heard. The other two women that are in this piece of journalism on Sky News, one's called Kirsty. We've been fighting alongside her for 18 months. She has also been treated horrendously. She did nothing wrong other than challenge the police about the treatment of her sister and two other children who alleged that they had been raped by a man in Manchester, and no action was taken. When Kirsty challenged GMP, she was targeted and arrested and strip searched and prevented from having toilet paper, not given her drugs and medication, humiliated and treated inhumanely and without any kind of respect. The third young woman, referred to as Maria, I actually was with until about 3 hours on the day that she was arrested. She had been a victim of horrific domestic violence the night before, and the police had turned up. Her partner had been arrested, and he had the money, the keys, all her possessions, and he was in custody. All she was asking for was access to those to some money so she could get home for 2 hours away. And eventually they came out and they locked her up for malicious communications. She was strip searched. They told her to sit on a bed and open her legs so they could look inside her private parts. These are humiliating, unacceptable treatment of women in police custody. And in custody, they should have their rights upheld. There is no excuse for treating women in custody in this way. And it really needs to stop, and it needs to be exposed.
Absolutely right. Andy Burnham's been speaking today. He says there's going to be an independent investigation. Have you identified one custody suite, as it were, or one group of officers individually?
Yeah, this is one custody office. I can't say it on here, but it is one custody suite.
No, I wouldn't want you to. That's okay.
No. That, you know, it's one custody suite, and we are aware of 4 completely unconnected women who have come to the foundation. I don't know how many other women there are who might have been treated this way in that custody suite, but 4 is 4 too many. 1 would be horrendous. 2, maybe a coincidence. 3 and then 4, I'm sorry, I don't accept that this is just one-off. I believe that this is a pattern of behaviour in this custody suite. What I would say is that, I know Andy Burnham has been speaking out today, but one of my colleagues in the foundation actually took Kirsty to a face-to-face meeting with Andy Burnham on Tuesday. So he was well aware of this before this Sky footage was aired, and we do work with the Police and Crime Commissioner and Andy Burnham's office in trying to get these things addressed. I believe that communication and working together is the only way to change these. It's an abuse of power.
It totally is, and it's absolutely outrageous, because the footage itself, I mean, obviously you can't prejudge these things, but the footage is harrowing. It's awful. It looks as if the women are terrified. You know, the way they're being treated. You can see that one of the women is lying face down, wearing some kind of oversized shorts I think they made her wear after they stripped her. Her hands are cuffed behind her back. I mean, it's just horrendous. But I mean, isn't Manchester Police already in special measures? What does this mean for them?
No, they've come out of them. You know, we've got a new chief constable, Stephen Watson, who I would say is. I mean, I have to say that with your viewers will know me because of the Rochdale case, an Ops fan. Now that took 10 years to get an acknowledgement and an apology about the behaviour of GMP. In that case, the new chief constable actually did apologise for that. So he has done a couple of, he is more willing to communicate, and I have seen him acknowledge those failures, for which I'm really grateful. But he did know about these cases because we have been repeatedly highlighting them in our regular meetings with Greater Manchester Police. So I'm really disappointed that action wasn't taken before we had to go to the media with them. But, the way we work, we will try and resolve an issue like this early doors. If we can't, then we will go to the Police and Crime Commissioner, to Andy Burnham's office. Following that, if nothing still happens, we will come to the media. And, anybody who wants to see all the footage should go to my Twitter feed, Mike, which is Maggie Oliver UK, where I shared it yesterday. But it really is horrifying what very vulnerable women who are powerless in a police custody office are having to endure, and, having to fight for 2 years to get to the bottom of it. Zayna was unconscious. I'm a former police officer. So to leave a woman in that unconscious state, face down on a bed with her hands handcuffed behind her back, number one, is extremely dangerous. Yeah. And number two, she should not have been left in a belt, because that alone is a risk. So, these things all need answers, and they could have very easily, if there is nothing to hide, which I have to say I find difficult to believe, but if there was nothing to hide, then releasing the CCTV would immediately counter any of these allegations. That hasn't happened. In the case of Kirsty, the same thing. She's been fighting to get the CCTV from her time in custody and has had no joy. In relation to Maria, I would argue that as a victim of horrific domestic abuse, she shouldn't have been arrested in the first place. But there is a lot more to Maria's story that I can't go into here. These cases are worrying. And when you're doing work like I'm doing and like we're doing in the Maggie Oliver Foundation, we see things repeatedly that are not right. And the police, Mike, are a public service and they are accountable. And when things like this happen, they must be held to account, because that is why trust in the police is at an all-time low. And when you see these kind of incidents, that is no surprise.